Hi, this is Marsha.
And this is Kelly.
We are the 2U's of 2U's Fiber Adventures. Thanks for stopping by.
You'll hear about knitting, spinning, dyeing, crocheting, and just about anything else we can think of as a way to play with string.
We blog and post show notes at 2usfiberadventures.com.
And we invite you to join our 2U's Fiber Adventures group on Ravelry. I'm 100 Projects.
And I am Better in Motion.
We're both on Instagram and Ravelry, and we look forward to meeting you there.
Enjoy the episode.
Hi, adventurers. This is Kelly, and I'm popping in here before we start the call just to let you know about the timing of this episode. So Marsha and I recorded this episode not just this past Friday, as we normally try to do, but last Friday, a week ago, Friday. I was supposed to get it out that weekend, and it just didn't happen. I had too much going on, and my computer was giving me trouble, so I just waited. And then, of course, finals week happened, and no publishing of episodes was going to occur during finals week. I don't know what I was thinking. Anyway, just wanted to give you an idea of the timing. A week has ensued since the actually little more than a week has gone by since this recording. I also just wanted to let you know that this is an unedited episode. I am just going to put it up there raw. I don't think we had parts where we said to each other, okay, wait, just a minute, let me go get something, or we'll take this out when we edit. But honestly, I don't remember. So thank you for your patience for a very raw episode coming out right after the last week of the semester during the grading period for finals. Okay.
Good morning, Kelly.
Good morning, Marsha. Once again on a Friday morning because the week got too busy and we never recorded.
I know. I suddenly, I think this like Monday or Tuesday, I don't know what day it was. I texted you. I said, aren't we supposed to record this week? It's been kind of crazy. There's just a lot going on. Mm-hmm. Anyway. Well, first of all, I have to ask, because Aunt Betty had her cataract surgery, and how's she doing?
She's doing great. Yeah, it was on Wednesday was the surgery, and it's kind of funny. I mean, you know, she had some additional risk because she had waited so long. I think I talked about that as a PSA for anybody who needs to get it. Don't wait too long. But it went fine. But it's funny because I dropped her off at the surgery center, and they said, it'd be about 2 hours till I would, get a call to pick her up. And so when they called me to tell me about picking her up, they said, yes, she's going into surgery now. So, and I had told them it would, give me, they ask you how long it's going to take you to get there. And I said, about 20 minutes. And so they wrote that on the little note. And then they called me and they said, well, she's going into surgery now, so you can come and pick her up. And I had to kind of laugh because it's so fast, Yeah. The waiting was longer than anything else. Just trying to get into the surgery, into the surgery center. Took her longer than anything else. And so she said, the worst part of it was no coffee. And after the surgery, when you have to take the patch off and put in the eye drops, a couple hours later, the tape, the adhesive tape. That was the bulk of the discomfort. Oh, and the waiting room was cold. So I would say when those are your main complaints of discomfort in a surgery, that the surgery was very smooth.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I remember my mother had, they did both of Aunt Betty's eyes at the same time.
No,
right?
no, just one.
Oh, they did not.
Yeah, she has to go.
Oh, just one.
They don't do the place where she went. They don't do both. At the
I
same
didn't
time.
think so, because I know my mom. They did one eye, and then she went back and did the second eye. But But what I remember too about the wait times, they said, I thought, well, maybe I would go, walk around, get a cup of coffee or something. Like, oh, and they're like, no, you don't really have time for that because it's so fast.
Yeah.
So I just sat in the waiting room, and it was surprisingly fast. Yeah, there really was not time to, especially, where the surgery was, to walk outside and look for coffee. So anyway.
Well, and now, they don't, in this particular place, they don't allow anybody into the waiting room who's not having surgery since the pandemic. So, she had no one to wait with while she was waiting. So I did have a good 2 hours from the time I dropped her off to when they, when they called me to come back. And I did go home and get some work done, but it was kind of funny. It wasn't like they were calling me because the surgery was finished and she was in recovery. It was, okay, she's going in now. Come get her.
Right.
Well, the doctor said, when we had the original meeting, he said, oh, yeah, I do these all the time. It'll take me about 12 minutes. And so.
That's amazing.
I know.
It really is kind of amazing. Yeah.
So, and Betty said she was going to time him. And then the other, I don't need to go on and on about this, but the other thing that I think is really funny about these types of things, like Robert had a colonoscopy, and they use apparently the same or similar anesthetic, right?
I didn't know where you were going with that because such completely different things. So anyway,
it's a completely different thing, but they use a similar or the same. I don't know if it's the same anesthesia method, right? Where you aren't out, but it just impacts your memory of what happened. And both of them like swore up and down to me that, oh yeah, I don't feel a thing. They said I was going to feel loopy and it's fine. I don't feel bad at all. And I don't know why they need you to come pick me up because I could drive home just fine. And both of them in these things have sworn up and down that they were perfectly fine. And then they talk to me all about what happened as I'm taking them home. And then we get home, and about an hour later, both of them come out and talk to me and tell me all the same stuff all over again. And anything that I said in the car on the way home, absolutely no memory. Like totally new to them when I say it again. And so I just had to kind of crack up about that I mean, they were so adamant that they were perfectly fine. And, that might impact other people, but that anesthesia doesn't do anything for me.
That's why they tell you, don't drive.
Don't use appliances. Don't sign
any. And don't sign any legal documents. Don't sign anything.
No, next time I might have one of them sign something for me. a promise that I never have to do dishes again.
That's funny.
So that was kind of humorous, I thought. So
well, it's on this topic too. Our friend Dave, he had to do the colonoscopy thing, and so you need someone to drive you, and so Mark drove him, and he bought a. I say new settee. It's an old thing, but it's new to him, and it needs to be reupholstered. And so he wanted to have Mark take him down to the design center after his colonoscopy to go pick out fabric. And Mark's like, no, I'm not taking you down there to pick out fabric. We'll do that next week.
That's funny.
So, yeah. Who knows what he would have ended up with anyway.
Colonoscopy impacted upholstery. God. All right.
So funny.
We've now gone way off track.
Yeah. Well, before we get into projects, I just want to ask you, where are you in the holiday stuff? Do you guys have your tree and et cetera and all that stuff?
Oh, yeah. I guess Robert's getting the tree today. He wanted to get it last weekend, and I said, the house is a disaster. I mean, really? You're going to put a tree up when, it needs to be vacuumed and things are all over the place. And so so he waited. He's going today, I think, to get a tree. And we have additional furniture that we didn't have before, a piano and extra chairs and stuff. So it was.
I'm sorry about that, Kelly. The extra chairs.
It was also.
It's not my fault, but it's like it's guilt by association.
I hold you harmless. Yeah. Yes, it is not your fault. So anyway, he vacuumed yesterday and moved stuff, and so now the space. He has the space available for the tree, and he's going to go get the tree, and then we're going to. And I have such mixed. I'm just gonna say something that I am kind of reluctant to say, not because it's not true, and not because other people don't feel it, but because I usually don't let myself think it. But I just have such mixed feelings about all the decorating for the holidays, and. It's like, it was kind of a relief in the pandemic, the year when we waited so long to get our tree that there were no trees. It's like, okay, but the thing about it is, so, putting up the tree and putting up I hang ornaments from the dining room window, which all of it, I love it once it's up. And I think that's the way I try to think of it is, I don't necessarily love all the work I do at work, but I love my job. There's parts of it I don't really like. I love having everything decorated for the holidays. I like that feeling. I like having holiday events. I like seeing people at the holidays. I like the end result, but I don't like everything that goes into having that happen,
Yeah. Yeah.
So I'm having a cookie exchange, like a work open house cookie exchange thing on Monday. So I do want to have the tree, and I do need to and that's one of the things I'm going to be doing this weekend is getting the dining room decorations up, and so that I can feel festive on Monday when people drop off cookies and then come back later in the day to pick up cookies. So. And maybe I'll even make some cookies. Although the last time I did a cookie exchange, I did not need to make any cookies because by the time the thing was done, people bring cookies, but they don't actually take home as many cookies as they brought. Like, I brought 2 dozen, but I really only need to bring 1 dozen home. So I ended up with a lot of extra cookies at the end of the day. So I'm not sure I actually need to. But that's kind of fun too. And then I don't think I'm going to be able to do the gingerbread houses with the kids this year. They're in the process of moving and same area, but
and
still.
You had to kind of make that dough a couple weeks in advance, right? Because wasn't it sort of you kind of had to have it kind of stale, right?
It takes at least 2 or 3 days to prepare because I made all the cookie parts ahead. Just a couple of days of sitting out can get them stale.
Oh, really? For some reason I thought it was a lot longer.
The recipe I have is for it's called structural gingerbread. So it is already made to be not soft, like the cookies gingerbread cookies you eat. As long as you don't put it in a damp place, it's fine. But one day making the dough and all the house parts, and then another day to put all the house parts together because they really do need to cure that royal icing. Really does need to cure to have them be stiff enough to stay together. Some people put them together and decorate them on the same day, but that just seemed like too much. So it's really 3 solid days of, well, not solid days because in past years I've made like 8 or 9 houses. So I would have some to be able to play with for myself. I don't need to do that anymore. I just need one for each kid and maybe one for Sarah if she wants to come. So it's not as much work, but anyway, they're moving and they have a lot going on. So I think maybe this year we won't. I don't know.
Yeah.
I might change my mind once my final
once the tree is up.
Right.
Maybe once the tree is up and exams are done and everything, then you'll get like, oh, okay, now I feel motivated. Because you kind of like the tree sort of kicks everything off, I think, kind of the festive part of it,
right?
But I will say too, I got my tree on Tuesday, and this is Friday morning. And Kelly, it's not decorated. It's been sitting in the entrance. And I have to say, I like where I put it now because we always used to put it like in the bay window on the front of the house. But you have to rearrange all the furniture, for the tree. And so now the last couple of years, I've just put it in the entrance hall. And I really like that because you don't have to move anything.
Right.
And it's kind of out of the way. So, but anyway, I'm hopefully this evening, fingers crossed, I'll get it decorated. But I'm going to say, not to be negative, because we're trying not to be negative about it, but it is a statement of fact. This is just a statement of fact. Every ornament I put on that tree, this is the thought that goes through my head. I'm going to have to take that off and put it away. So I sometimes think maybe I can get by with like 20 ornaments and call it good. Because I now, because when we were growing up, my brother and I would decorate the tree, and we put all these decorations up and lights up and garland. I mean, and then we'd come home from, we'd all go back to school after New Year's, and we'd come home one day and everything was put away.
Right.
It's like Christmas never happened, and my mother spent the whole day putting all that crap away.
Yes. This is why people our age. This is why people our age suddenly decide to go and get a fake tree that already has the ornaments on it.
Yeah. So
because it's just instant Christmas decoration.
Yeah.
Oh, funny. Yeah. So and I think for me, some of it is my school. Is a result. I've always had a school schedule that impinged on the holidays, right? I mean, I went to school when I was in college. I couldn't think about Christmas until finals were over, and then when I was when I started teaching, it was the same way. I didn't even think about Christmas until finals were over. I just couldn't. There's too much to do, especially when I was a new teacher.
And I'm gonna say even though I wasn't in education, I was in retail.
Yeah.
And I was doing, in charge of all the marketing, and part of the marketing was all the merchandising and the displays. And so Christmas started in July.
Right.
So by the time Christmas rolled around, I was like kind of sick of it. And we had put up, 50 trees between 9 stores. I mean, there was like, by that time I was like, really don't care. And I'd rally. And then, of course, when Ben came, you have to rally for your children.
Exactly.
You have to kind of get it together. But, Christmas it started in July, I think, all of the planning for it.
And I guess that's kind of the thing is like, it's something you have to rally for, right? You have to work yourself up to do it. And then, it's good and you like it, but you have to kind of give yourself a pep talk.
I'm laughing when you say you have to work yourself up. I'm like, yeah, I work myself up into a complete state of pissed off, frenzy, resentment.
So I'm going to tell a funny story. That's kind of part, this story already, but this is part of, that you have the lore of your family, your legends. And this is one of the things that in our family. Because there was one year where finals, I had my last final on the very last day of finals week, and it was an evening class. So I was working right up till the end. So I honestly think that my last day of working, it was an afternoon class. So I think my last day of working was December. Oh, well, it was December 23rd. That was the latest that our semester ever went. And I came home that day. I had done 0 Christmas shopping. We did have the tree up. So we had done some holiday events, but I just couldn't get any of the shopping done. And in those days, I did say to Robert at one point, look, you have to do some shopping for your side of the family. But in those days, we had a lot of big get-togethers, his family, my family, lots of people to shop for. And that's not really the case so much anymore. But I got home that evening. So it was probably about 4:30. I dumped my school stuff down. I'm done with and I said, okay, now I'm going to do the effing Christmas shopping. And so Aunt Betty has this green bowl that I bought that year. And I told her that story. And now that green glass bowl is in my cupboard, right? Because she lives with us. And so we always call that the effing Christmas shopping bowl. Because that was the year I got her that bowl for Christmas. It actually came out. I mean, I actually ended up having a really good time going out by myself the evening of December 23rd, just methodically doing things, getting, I tried to get everything at one place, as much as I could. So it ended up being fine, but we laugh about that all the time.
Oh yeah. And the thing is, and too, Kelly, those were in the days before all the internet shopping where you can have something delivered that day, I mean.
Yeah.
I completely understand.
So I have one more week. By a week from today, it will all be finished and my grades will have been turned in for like 3 days. I will have had like 3 days of vacation already. So it will come. It will happen.
I have one last comment I did about the holidays. Because we just had Thanksgiving, and we had our Thanksgiving recovery weekend podcast, and and just the other day, I think when I was when Dave came by, my friend Dave came by to help me get the tree, and I was sort of standing there waiting for him, and I got thinking about the holidays and about Thanksgiving and how I was really exhausted from. Because there was a lot of cooking and I'm going to preface this by saying I did this to myself, right? You have to get out the linen tablecloth and you have to iron it and you have to get out the family dishes and the, grandmother's silver and all that kind of stuff. None of that. I did not have to do any of that, but I did it and I did all the cooking and whatnot. But I remember thinking as a kid, I always remember the holidays just being so kind of magical. And it was like the family, the family was there and there was all this food. And, especially like at Christmas, my mother would make like 15 different kinds of cookies and always have this big platter of all these cookies and everything. I never once thought as a kid about the work that went into that. And what were my parents were really good about never... If there was something going on between them or between other family members or just, there's stuff, right, that just goes on. I never knew it. Like I never knew. And my mother, she would make all those cookies, but she would do it while we were at school and then she'd freeze them. So they would just sort of appear cookies, Yes. And but we didn't see what actually went into all of it. And what
the work behind the magic. Really right?
Yes. And so I started laughing to myself and I thought, I wonder on Thanksgiving dinner, did my mother sit there and look at everybody going, you ingrates, I've done all this. She never let on.
Or what is it? Or what is it you say? I don't even like you people.
Yes. 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 That's the joke is when I have people over, I'm all excited about having people come over and the 15 minutes before the doorbell rings, I'm thinking to myself, why did I do this? I don't even like these people, which we know is not true. I love them, but I sometimes get myself, we all do it. We get ourselves kind of into we get ourselves worked up about stuff. Yeah. And then I always have a good time when the actual party, but there is that moment, I'm like, oh my God, why am I doing this to myself? I thought, I wonder if my parents were or my mother especially would just sit there on, especially Christmas, she would go to all this work. Did she sit there and kind of go, man, why did I do this to myself?
I'm sure. I think, that is, you kind of hit the nail on the head is you want that magical feeling, right? Mm-hmm. But somebody has to make that magic happen.
Right.
And when you're an adult, you have to make that magic happen yourself. Mm-hmm. Right. So that's the pit.
Anyway. Well, I have to say my attitude will change when I get the tree up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I'm pretty much, I have hardly anybody to buy for anymore. So that's pretty much done.
Well, and we did have our our first batch of eggnog. That's always fun.
Oh, yes, the infamous eggnog.
The infamous eggnog, yes. We had our first batch.
Okay.
And that's always magical.
Okay. I know. You really, you do. A magical feeling overcomes you when you drink that. Right?
Yeah. All right.
Okay, let's get on to the business at hand. Should we talk projects?
Yeah. Go ahead.
Do you want me to? Yeah. Should I go first?
Yeah, you go first because mine is going to be anticlimactic.
Well, I have some things to report. I have a finished object. I finished the socks for my brother.
Yay!
And so I just yay! I'm going to give those to him for Christmas. They're not. I guess I'm calling them finished. They're not technically finished because I have to weave in the ends, but that's done for our purposes. They're considered done. And then I have to report in on the sweater for Ben. I have finished the body. Right. I did I think in the last episode, he had come home and I was able to measure on him. And so I made the body longer. Kelly, you and I had a conversation on the phone because I'm following the Fibonacci sequence. But then I ended up with one stripe because the stripes went, 4, 3, 2, 1. So I ended up with my last single stripe actually had 13 rows in it. So we had a discussion about what I should do because the sequence would be the next stripe would have 21 rows of the brown, but it'd only be a single stripe, right? And so it throws off my order. It's going to go now 4, 3, 2, 1, 1. But you pointed out because of the number of rows in that last stripe, is still keeping the Fibonacci order, sequence, theory, whatever in place. So that's what I did is I put in that last brown stripe has 21 rows in it. And then I just knit one row of the green because you pointed out if you go straight to the ribbing and you change colors from the brown to the green straight to ribbing, you get kind of a funny look. So I put in one row of stockinette of the green, and then I did, I think I did 14 rows of ribbing in the green. So the body's done, and then I've knit down to, the first arm is knit down to where I now need to do the cuff, but I want Ben to try it on, and I've picked up the second sleeve, and I am about a little over halfway on the second sleeve. So the light is at the end of the tunnel.
Yeah, no, that's
on the sweater.
Nice.
And so I'm hoping to. So I'm just working. I finished the socks for Mark. I just sat down and finished those. And so now I'm just concentrating just on the sweater because I want to get it done and get it out of here by Christmas. I'll give it to him.
Nice. And is he home? Are his classes
He's home.
over?
He came. His classes are over, and he came home. This is Friday. He came home Wednesday night, I think. Okay.
So you'll have access to him to try it on. That's good.
Well, in theory.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah, he's gone anyway. So I will, this weekend, I'll kind of grab him. It literally takes just a couple minutes just for him to try it on, for me to measure it. So, and then it will need to be washed and blocked. So Yay. Making huge progress on that, and I feel really good about it, and I'm excited to put it behind me and move on. And then I swatched for another project. I did take an hour just to swatch. So do you remember the Manx Loaghton handspun that I did? It's kind of aran weight. It's pretty bulky, but very, very light because it's woolen spun. So it's very light, but it's big. So I have just a little over 1,400 yards. So because of the weight of the yarn and the yardage, it's way too much for a sweater. Yeah. And I didn't want to make a sweater out and then have a bunch left over. I like to use it all up. So I decided to make a blanket. And the blanket I found is called January blanket.
Oh, how appropriate.
And yes.
I thought you were calling it January blanket because you were planning to get it started after Christmas.
Well, kind of. I put it anyway. It's called January blanket, and it's the designer is Leslie Weber, and I believe it's a free pattern. Let me just check here.
Yeah, I'm looking at it.
Yes, it's a free pattern, and it's a lace, kind of like a chevron.
Yeah, it's pretty
pattern. It's nice, and it has just some moss stitch around, around the edge, all the way around. So it calls for, and we're not going to talk about this in the podcast. I'll have a separate conversation with you, Kelly, about this, but you knit it on size 8 needles, and you need 1,200 yards. I think, and it says it's supposed to be aran weight yarn that you use. But my yarn, I think, is quite fluffy. So I'm going up to 9s. I like the 9 better, but I want to use up all of that yarn. So we'll have a conversation maybe this weekend to just go over the math of if this is, what my stitches per inch. And so should I put in another, because I don't remember now exactly, but I think there's 15 pattern repeats across the blanket. So if you want to make it bigger, you just keep adding no, it's more than that. There's 15 stitches in the pattern repeat. So you just cast on an extra 15 stitches to put another pattern repeat in there.
Right.
Should I do that? We have to just sit down and have a little math discussion.
Yeah, we can talk about the end result of the discussion.
Yeah.
How we went about it, but that would not be interesting.
No. We'll have a separate actual. But it's kind of interesting. I think it's a perfect project because there's 13 projects, and most of them are the brown of they look so similar to the brown that I'm using. And there's two blue ones in here, and it looks like maybe a gray one. But anyway, they're all kind of this natural color brown. So it seems like it's the perfect project.
It looks like it was made for that yarn. Yeah.
Yeah, it really does.
So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So 5 of the 13 projects are brown, and then a couple more of them are beige. Yeah, that's kind of amazing.
So it was sort of like it was meant to be. So anyway, that's it for me for projects.
Okay. Well, that's
so. And how about you?
So, following somewhat the bankhead hat pattern style of ribbing, a ribbed brim, and then you switch to a different type of ribbing, like a X-by-1 ribbing for the crown part, or what is that called in the hat? Is that called the crown of the hat, or is the crown of the hat the very top where you start decreasing? I don't know what part of the hat it's called.
I think the crown is where you start decreasing.
Okay. So the main
top of the head,
main part of the hat that's not the top of the head and not the brim is some number by 1 ribbing is what I've been doing, depending on how many stitches I cast on. So I had that orange hat that I was working on the last time we recorded. That one's finished. It turned out a little small because it was I had fingering weight held double. But I didn't change the needle that I had in my bag. So I think the needle was a little small. It was very dense. Well, actually, I made an orange hat. I actually made 3 of them. I made an orange hat. Then with the leftovers from the orange hat, I made an orange and pink hat. The pink yarn is DK weight, and I didn't realize that. So I was using it doubled along with the orange doubled, which was really dense. So the orange and pink hat is pretty dense, and it's a little smaller than the rest of them, but it'll be good for a child. And then I made a hat that was just pink with just one strand of the DK weight pink yarn. And all of these are Invictus yarns from her I think she called it the bulky club, meaning that it was more than fingering weight. The orange was sport weight. Sport weight held double. So anyway, 3 hats. That is the sum total of my knitting projects. And now I have nothing. Well, I still have that vest on the needles, but I haven't done anything with it. But other than that vest that's been languishing for a while, I have nothing on the needles. I know.
What are you going to do?
Nothing. Finals.
Well, maybe after after Christmas, Christmas Day, I'm going to have not. Well, I don't know if you could just figure something out.
I think one of the things that often happens to me, thinking about, that you sort of rally and get in the spirit. If you build it, the spirit will come. What happens to me after school gets out is that I get the desire to make something for someone. And so it's very possible that I will decide to throw some dish towels on the loom and weave something, or I will, I don't know, make some slippers for somebody, or, it's possible that something like that will happen, because that does happen. And, it's usually for someone I'm going to see on, so I don't have, it's not like I have to finish it in time to ship it or anything like that. So that might happen. There might be actually a 1 or 2 Christmas projects that I make, or I might just decide to do something like cast on another one of those needling doilies. Or actually, I have a needling doily project that is also languishing from years ago. I did the swatch project for the doily, and I did maybe one. I think it was partly in pieces, and I did one of the pieces, and then you make the main part, and then you attach the pieces. And I never got any further than that. So maybe I'll get that out. I don't know. I'm not gonna promise anything. But I have been using using some of my time when I finish school and I need something to do, to practice some Christmas songs on the piano. So now my Aunt Pat has a request, since the Thanksgiving song did not get played. Aunt Betty told her I was learning Christmas songs, and she said, okay, she needs to learn O Tannenbaum. So I have another directive about a song I need to learn. I've been working on Away in the Manger and Angels We Have Heard on High. Both of them have new skills, so that was kind of nice. I got to move a little further along the skill level. So anyway, I'm playing Christmas songs that are recognizable on the piano. So that's been fun.
Well, and I sometimes think it's easier to learn a song if you know the song. It's like, so Christmas songs are just imprinted onto our brain.
Right.
So I think they're really good songs to learn, as opposed some of the songs you were trying to learn, you didn't even know what the song was, Well,
it wasn't really a song, I don't think. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
That's true. Yeah, that's true.
And I have to say, there were a couple of them where the rhythm of the notes was really difficult. And it's good, because it gave me something to work on, right? It was a challenge getting the rhythm of the notes correct. But yeah, with Christmas songs, with these Christmas songs, I don't have to concentrate on what's the rhythm of the notes, because I know what that rhythm is. Yeah. I can concentrate only on the new part, which is in one of the songs, because all the songs I've done so far are all like, you put your 5 fingers on the 5 keys, and those are the only 5 keys in the song, right? On each hand, whatever hand you're using, you don't move off of those 5 keys once you set them down. But now one of the songs I have has you has you like stepping over your fingers to get to more keys, right? So that's cool. And then the other song has chords on your left hand, which I have not done before either, which that's kind of beyond me at this point, but I'm trying. I mean, I'm working on it. I haven't mastered it yet, and I might not master it by Christmas. but it's I'm learning something new. So each one of the two songs has something new in it, but I don't also have the newness of figuring out the rhythm of the notes, which can be challenging. So like the Angels We Have Heard on High has eighth notes, which I haven't done before, but I know how they are supposed to sound in the song, so it's not a problem. Right. Yeah. Right. So anyway,
and it's also good too, because you also know by ear if you've hit the wrong, if you're looking at the music and you hit the wrong note with you're not looking at your hands, you know you've hit the wrong note because it doesn't sound right, because you know that song so well. So
in fact,
really
I downloaded Deck the Halls, and I don't know what's wrong with that music, or maybe it's my piano, but I cannot make the notes sound like Deck the Halls at all. It's terrible. It's just wrong. And so that one I'm just not. I abandoned that one right away and went and found another song. So now I'm going to add a third song, "Oh Christmas Tree," to my repertoire, I think, depending on if I can find a download one that isn't too complicated. And I think I can. This website that I found that has multiple versions. And at first I thought, I could try a high beginning version, because I've been doing this for I've been working out of this book for, a month and a half now. I could do a high beginning song. No. I'm still at the low beginning level. So all of those low beginning versions are good. So if they have one of those, then I'll try it. But anyway, that's actually, it's been, I used to think, I have a friend who plays really well, a work, guy I knew that I know from work, who plays really well. And he would, spend a lot of time playing piano. And I would always think, but you don't have anything at the end of that. Like knitting, when you're done, you have a sock, Yeah. When you play the piano, when you're done, you just played the piano. But I get it. I think I understand the appeal. So,
yeah.
At least for this part of my semester, it's not at all competing with knitting time. So,
yeah, because you're not really knitting anything.
No, nothing that I really care about. Right?
No competition. Yeah.
It has no competition. Yeah. If I was working on a project that I really liked, I'm pretty sure the project would take precedence over my piano practice. So,
yeah.
So that's it. Yeah, I haven't even really been thinking ahead too much to things I want to make in the future. Although I still have that creeper blanket on my radar for Kai. So not for Christmas. Obviously.
Yeah, really.
So, all right.
You better make it while he's still interested in Pokemon, though.
It's Minecraft.
Oh, Minecraft. Yeah. That's it. Yeah. Not Pokemon. Yeah, I did know that.
And he is,
because he may be out of them.
He is still interested, I guess. So
okay.
But yes, I need to move on it. So his birthday's in March, so I think that's my goal.
Okay.
Is to have it for his birthday. So,
well, I don't have anything else. We should just say, because we say it every episode, the Winter We Belong is underway, and it ends March 31st. So, lots of time.
Yeah,
that's about it. I don't think there's anything else to say.
No, I think that's it.
We did our complaining and. And our project updates. There we go. Yes. Podcast finished.
And that's all we got.
Yeah, really.
Our lives are not very interesting at the moment. That's kind of how I feel. My life is not very interesting at the moment. It's just kind of a slog. And again, I mean, everybody who's teaching, I know, feels the same way. But again, it's more of a slog than usual because it's not the normal, it was not a normal teaching semester with the ransomware attack and all of that. So I really am looking forward to having a semester that just feels like I'm a veteran teacher doing a few fun new things and not overwhelmed by my load at work.
Yeah.
It'd be nice if I could get to that place. I mean, I know it's possible because I was doing that before. There were times, I mean, I always felt busy and it was hectic at the end of the semester. Don't get me wrong. And if you ask, the people who live with me, they would say it was hectic many times during the semester, not just at the end. But it felt manageable, right? I mean, to me, it felt like the normal amount of hectic. And just since March of 2020, nothing about my work has felt normal. So I'm looking forward to having that feeling again before I retire.
It will happen.
Yeah.
It'll probably come. Yeah.
I think this semester would have felt like that if we didn't have the ransomware. Well, two things. If I didn't suddenly have a total change in schedule 2 weeks before the semester started, so that everything I was ready to teach turned into something else. And then the ransomware attack, those two things. So
yeah.
Anyway.
Okay.
That's enough of my negativity for the podcast.
Yes, I know. Yeah. No, as I say, I have an appointment today at 1. So after we get off the phone, I'm going to take Enzo for a walk and have a little lunch. And then when I come back from my appointment this evening, I'm going to work on the tree. I'm going to make myself do it. And
it's too bad I can't just send you a batch of eggnog because that does really help make decorating the tree very pleasant.
Yes, I know. When you were talking about it earlier, I thought, I wonder if there's any way you can package it. But it would be so expensive to send it, because it'd have to go overnight or something, and it would be so expensive.
Yeah.
It's not,
It would be easier for you to just make your own.
I will, yes. I will come down there for Christmas in July.
Okay.
And
we'll have tamales and eggnog.
Oh, gosh. I don't know about that. I don't. Well,
because you make tamales in December, right? That's the usual.
No, I realize that, but it's I always think of in the Mexican culture or cultures that make tamales, do they make eggnog? That always seems sort of like
there's a drink
European thing.
Well, no, there's a drink called rompopo, which is very much like eggnog. I don't know that you would actually drink the eggnog and eat the tamales at the same time. You would probably drink the eggnog while you made the tamales.
Okay. All right.
But yeah, they probably don't go together as a meal. Although if you had enough eggnog while you were making them, you would not notice.
Excuse me, I just took a drink of water and started choking on it. I was going to say eggnog also is so high calorie that it would be like a meal in itself too, right?
Yes.
No,
it's true.
In it.
It's true.
Protein, right?
Yeah.
Anyway. Okay, well, I will think about it because I believe I have your recipe. I think you photographed it.
Well, if you don't, you know where to find me.
Yeah. Maybe I'll make a batch. Anyway. Okay. All right. Well, I will let you go and we'll talk probably 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
All righty.
Bye.
Carry on.
Okay.
Bye.
Okay. So now that you've listened to Marsha and I go on about not feeling the holiday spirit, or, having a little bit of a difficult time getting into the mood, I do have to report that I had a cookie exchange for work on Monday, the Monday after we recorded this episode. So last week, Monday. And it was so much fun. It really did help to get me into that spirit of the holidays and thinking about, the relationships and the fun and what the holidays really mean, the cookies. So I did want to let people know that I'm feeling a little bit better than I maybe sounded as I was talking during this episode. I also wanted to update you on the Christmas songs that I am playing on the piano. I have to say that has also been a big help. Playing all of those Christmas carols that I really like, and having that sort of challenge to give my brain, instead of thinking about everything I need to do to get done with the semester. That's really been a nice little boost. So anyway, just wanted to pop in at the end and let you know about the fact that Marsha and I both are a little bit further along in our holiday thinking than we were when we recorded this episode. Hope you enjoyed it. Bye. Thank you so much for listening. To subscribe to the podcast, visit 2usfiberadventures.com.
Join us on our adventures on Ravelry and Instagram. I am Better in Motion, and Kelly is 100 Projects.
Until next time, we're the 2Us
doing our part for World Fleece.